Chapter 7, Part 4, Proof Number 2, Micah 5:2. Quote, "His origin is from ancient days." Micah 5:2, RSV. The Book of Micah. Micah, 8th century BC, is the sixth of 12 minor Old Testament prophets. Micah 5:1-14 is a part of a prophecy to Israel, soon to be conquered by Assyria. It foretold that the Messiah would come to a Zion which no longer had a king, and that he would assume the throne of David and restore Israel. It generally being held by Christianity that the prophecy pointed to the birth of Jesus some 700 years later in Bethlehem. Here are the words of that prophecy. Quote, "The word of the Lord that came to Micah. As for you, Bethlehem, though you are the least significant of Judah's forces, one who is to be a ruler in Israel on my behalf will come out from you. His origin is from remote times, from ancient days." Micah 5:1-2, CEB. And note that the Messiah shall rule on God's behalf, not that he shall be God. This is the common English Bible translation. It finds support among many other widely received translations. For example, quote, "His origin is from antiquity, from ancient times." CSB, NIV, quote, "His origins are from very old, ancient times, from days long ago." EXB, quote, "His origins go back to the distant past, to days long ago." GWNOGNET, quote, "His origins are from of old, from ancient days." LEV, MEV, RSV, quote, "Whose origins are in the distant past." NLT, quote, "Whose origins date back to the distant past, to ancient days." Voice translation. Micah 5:2 tells us, in words clear and unmistakable, that Messiah was caused to come into existence at a time in the ancient past, beyond the memory of mankind, that he was a created being, not an eternal one. Trinitarianism disputes the validity of this assertion, but the overwhelming evidence presented in this chapter section shall establish that it is true. Mosa, the Hebrew word translated origin. The Hebrew word translated origin, goings forth, in Micah 5:2, is Mosa, Motsaah. Strong's Hebrew Dictionary of the Old Testament defines it, number 4163, as a family descent. Strong's further tells us that it derives from the word Yatsar, Yatsa, number 3318, defined as to go out in a great variety of applications. Both origin and goings forth, these speak an action taking place at a specific moment in time, not an eternal condition existing outside of it. One does not eternally originate or go forth, and the phrase following that one, "is from," indicates that a point within time is being referenced. As meaning time of origin, the biblical use of Mosa as meaning time of origin is seen in Daniel 9:25, quote, "From the going forth, Mosa, of the commandment to restore Israel." Here, Mosa speaks of the moment in which God, through his prophet Daniel, issued a command to the dispersed Jews that they were to restore their homeland. This commandment did not go forth from eternity, a meaningless idea. All actions begin at a finite moment in time, but rather from the moment God issued it. In the same way, Micah 5:2 uses the word Mosa to describe the going forth origin of the Messiah, a reference to his coming into being at a moment in time, as opposed to having existed for all eternity. Olam, the Hebrew word translated ancient past. The Hebrew word translated ancient past in Micah 5:2 is Olam, O-W-L-A-M. Strong's Hebrew Dictionary of the Old Testament defines it, number 5769, in part as concealed, the vanishing point, a time out of mind. Strong's further tells us that it derives from the word alam, A-L-A-M, number 5956, defined as to veil from sight, i.e., conceal, literally or figuratively. It is sometimes rendered in the King James as ancient time, of old, long time, etc. The more informative translation of Olam in Micah 5:2 would be one indicating a time so far in the distant past as to be beyond human memory or perception. It is so translated in several versions. While Olam is sometimes rendered everlasting, when indicated by clear context, it is most often used to describe a finite point or amount of time, where it is clear from the context that this is the intended meaning, and when its proper depiction will not bring harm to the doctrine of the Trinity, the King James will render Olam as ancient time, not eternity, as in Proverbs 22:28, Isaiah 44:7, Jeremiah 18:15, Ezekiel 36:2, etc. Long, or long time, again, not eternity, as in Psalm 143:3, Ecclesiastes 12:5, Isaiah 42:14, or days of old time, etc., as in Deuteronomy 32:7, 1 Samuel 27:8, Psalm 119:52, Ecclesiastes 1:10, Isaiah 63:9, etc. And so we see that even the Trinity-biased King James Version often translates Olam as depicting a finite period within time, not eternity. Misrepresentations of Micah 5:2. Many Trinity-biased Bible commentaries teach that Micah 5:2 depicts the Messiah as a member of an eternal triune Godhead. For example, quote, his existence from eternity as God. Matthew Henry Commentary, quote, an eternal nativity, the depth of which mystery passes the comprehension of human intellect. It must be spiritually discerned. Ellicott's Commentary, quote, these Hebrew expressions signify the eternity of God. The birth of Christ is here declared to be from all eternity. Benson Commentary, quote, going forth from everlasting shows that the eternal generation of the Son is meant. JF&B Commentary, quote, whose generation is eternal. This asserts the eternity of his divine nature. Matthew Poole's Commentary. We find Trinitarianism up to its old tricks, this time transforming the biblical declaration that Messiah's pre-incarnate heavenly existence, quote, originated in the ancient past, into a declaration of some sort of vague and ill-defined going forth from eternity. And again, in so doing, Trinitarianism has succeeded in changing the clear scriptural revelation of the creation of God's Son into a statement of his eternal existence as a would-be member of the Trinity. Messiah going forth from heaven to earth. One means by which Trinitarianism attempts to pervert Micah's meaning is by asserting that this going forth is a reference to Jesus leaving heaven to come to earth. We know, however, that this is not the case because that action is recognized as having taken place neither at a time beyond human memory nor in eternity, but 2,000 and some odd years ago. Rather, the words "whose going forth" reference the time at which Jesus began his existence, the moment of his origination, and is so rendered in several respected English translations as listed above. Proof number 2, conclusion. In Micah 5:2, God declares his pre-incarnate Son to have had a point of origination, matsawa, a moment in time in which he was caused to come into existence. Thus, as a member of creation, he cannot be the eternal and uncreated Lord God, Jehovah.